G'day, I'm Ronnie Dahl. I've test driven both the Fortuner and the Prado. To see those two independent videos reviewed off-road, check out the links below or at the end of the video. But it's time to put these two head to head.
Prado versus Fortuner. Which makes the best tourer, off-roader? Which has more space for perhaps modifying it later in the back for draw system and just general space? Which is better as a 7-seater? So many questions that you guys have asked. So many answers coming your way. And which will come out on top at the end?
As you can see, there is a ton of stuff covered in this video. Feel free to re-watch or skip around at any points down below. At the end of this video, I will reveal my choice out of these two vehicles, and I'll give you a reason for it too. I'll be interested to know if it matches your choice. And just a quick thanks to Galleria Toyota for lending me these two vehicles for this content. Let's get into it.
Which is better off-road? You can't split them. They can do the exact same task, both of them. I've put them both through the exact same thing, and look, in some cases the Fortuner's lighter, so it handled the deep sand, the really soft sand, it handled that better because it was a bit lighter. The power to weight ratio was a little bit better in the Fortuner, but then in other cases off-road, it's actually good to have that weight. I will point out though that the Prado, I'm not actually sure, but it feels like it flexes more than the Fortuner. It feels like it has just that little bit more flex. It's more comfortable off-road. In the Fortuner, if you're hitting bumps and hitting rocks and stuff, you do get thrown around a bit, just like the Hilux. You can smack your shoulder on the B-pillar for sure, because it's happened to me a couple of times. In a Prado, it's like sitting in a lazy boy. That's where I guess the Prado is part of the Land Cruiser family. The Fortuner is definitely not part of the Land Cruiser family, but it's still part of a robust Hilux family. I'd almost say you could call the Fortuner the Forerunner that we don't have in Australia anymore. So for the American audience who have asked me about the Fortuner, is it like a Forerunner? My answer to that question is, yeah, it is like a Forerunner. Let's do the cargo test really quick and just see how we can fit all this stuff inside these two vehicles. If cargo space is a worry to you and you need 7 seats, you can see here you can clearly fit stuff anyway, so it's not that much of an issue. If you did remove these seats, well, you got a fair bit of room in there. We've got 2 suitcases, I reckon we could fit 3 in there. They're not small suitcases either. But let's go have a look at the Prado. As you can see, you can pretty much fit the same amount of cargo in each vehicle if you keep your 7 seats. This door opens automatically, only on the Crusade, but notice how it opens like that. The Prado opens this way, like a barn door. If you are towing a trailer with a short drawbar, a caravan or a camper trailer, maybe just check the length of that door, because that could interfere more likely than this style of door. Now we're moving on to space in the back with the third row seats up. So I've only got one up on each side, just so it gives you a bit of an idea. You'll note that in the Fortuner, you got almost twice the amount of room at the back behind the seat than you do in the Prado. In actual fact, you got more than double the room in there. We have 200 millimeters from the third row seat back. Back from third row seats, we have double the space, 400 millimeters to the plastic trim. Third row seats down, we have 950 mil to the back. We have 1140 millimeters from the back seat to here at the lowest point. Moving up a bit higher, we still have a meter. What might seem like heaps of space is actually a little bit hindered by these seats up here. So as a 7-seater, This has got more space once they're folded down. But most people that buy these vehicles will not need 7 seats. So if you are going to use this as a tourer off-road, let's look at it a bit of a different way. You got 3 kids, you got your partner and yourself. You would probably remove the rear seats in this vehicle right here, the Fortuner. If you did that, you would then have more space than the Prado has. And here's why. Because the Prado seats fold down underneath. These will be much harder to remove. Most drawer systems that you buy for a Prado will actually sit on top of this, so you can still have your seats for later on. But my point here is, if you do remove the seats in the Fortuner, because you want to do the same thing with drawers and stuff, or cargo, you will save weight. Whatever these chairs weigh, you're going to gain that in GVM. After measuring it, you actually realise that the Fortuner is actually bigger in the back than the Prado is, if you remove your third row seats. So to me personally, I think the Fortuner wins the battle of space and versatility if you're going to deck this out in the rear. What do you reckon? It feels exactly like being in the Hilux. The comfort, the seating position, the visibility across the front. The back, however, I find is lacking a bit of visibility if I'm looking through the back there, which is not really a problem when you're driving, but if you're reversing around and stuff, there's a bit less visibility through the back. Prado time. Feels heavier, but man, it feels like it's smooth, like it's gliding. Road noise about the same, maybe a touch, just a tiny weeny touch louder in the Prado. Visibility, heaps more visibility. This feels like there's more visibility. I can see over the bonnet. Feels like I can see a bit better. The bonnet doesn't taper off as fast as what's on the Fortuner. It just feels really comfortable. It feels more defined, or more refined. More refined, that's the word I'm looking for. Highway pressures in both vehicles, and we're on this, slightly rough limestone road. It's not that rough really, it's rougher than the highway, and it's getting a feel for the Prado. You can definitely feel the bumps with these tyre pressures, but it's definitely absorbing it. Now let's hop back into the Fortuner and see what the difference is. Yeah, I can feel it more. I can feel it more. Yeah. Just getting up to the same speed I was doing. Yeah, I can definitely feel it more. There's a bit more noise in this car as well, but it could just be the cargo I've got in here. It's not really placed too well. Now, I would say, it's more noisy through this vehicle. It's because of that ladder frame chassis. It's just sending the vibration through the vehicle a lot more. Yeah, definitely, hands down. Hands down, Prado is much more comfortable off-road on this kind of stuff. Yep. It feels very Hilux-like. Ladder frame, stiff, strong chassis. That's not to say the Prado doesn't have a strong chassis. It's just got a more redefined chassis, and I guess that's why you pay more for that vehicle. Also, it has the Land Cruiser label on it too. When you hit potholes, bumps, speed humps, there's a lot more bucking compared to the Prado. The Prado is just absorbs it. It's like sitting in a couch while you're driving, whereas the Fortuner's like sitting in a bit of a chair, like the Hilux. It rides exactly the same as a Hilux. Time to talk numbers now. The width, the length, the wheelbase, all that important stuff. But you know what? There's not much difference here. For one, the Prado is wider by 30mm and the wheel track is wider by 30mm as well. look, obviously that can be a slight advantage off-road. The wheelbase itself is 45mm longer than the Fortuner. So if you want to look at it in a technical aspect, then the Fortuner has an advantage with the wheelbase. It's only these minute amounts we're talking about here, so it makes no difference on turning circles and how they get around between tight sections and trees and rocks. It doesn't make any difference. They're pretty much on par here. When it comes to overall length of the vehicle, the Prado is slightly longer on the exterior because of that spare wheel hanging off the back there by 200mm exactly. Apart from that, the clearance on both these vehicles is exactly the same, 219mm to the diff pumpkin, the lowest point on these vehicles on the underbelly of them. Time to talk about the motors. Now there's not much difference here. They both have the new updated motor, same bore stroke, same turbo, same all internals on these motors. Look, the layout is a little bit different because there's a few more gadgets in the Prado, so it needs a different fuse box than the Fortuner. It's pretty much the same setup. Same gearbox, same everything. The only real difference is this comes with struts, this doesn't. That is basically it. They both have the same feel and power and response when you're driving. Although the motors are the same, the weights on both these vehicles is different. So that impacts the fuel economy a little bit. Let's jump to that now. Fuel economy, hands down, Fortuner is the better vehicle for fuel economy. I've got 7.9, it's averaging about 8 litres per 100, and I'm not babying these cars around. I'm accelerating quite rapidly to my speed limit, and then I'm sitting there. So this takes the cake for fuel economy. Still talking about fuel economy here. You just heard my words from inside the Fortuner on the actual highway. Now I'm happy to report that we have reset the meters in both of these, and over a distance of 20 to 25 kilometers thereabouts, we're getting 8 litres per 100 out of this one and 6.9 out of that one. Now obviously they're not realistic figures because we've just done 20 Ks, but exact same driving out of both of these vehicles, we're following each other, and this definitely can confirm to have better fuel economy than the Prado. Why would that be? I would say because this is a heavier vehicle. Also, this is a full-time four-wheel drive, so may use slightly more with that system as well, but it's mainly to do with the weights. Possibly even the aerodynamics of it, because we were sitting on 110 for a little bit too. All right, that's the fuel economy. We're now going to talk about curb weight, GVM, and fuel capacity. Now all these are tied into each other, and I'll explain why. Now this is very important, so listen carefully. It's a bit complex, but I'll try and break it down as much as I can. The Prado total GVM, let's round it up to 3 tonne, because we're only 10 kilos off 3 tonne. 3 tonne right here, 2.8 tonne right here. We now know that. The curb weights, the Prado is 260 kilos heavier than the actual Fortuner. So now we know that. When it comes to cargo, we are still at about 675 kilos we can add to this vehicle and still be under standard GVM. The Prado, 605 kilos, still be under GVM. So you might be thinking, hey, the Fortuner's winning the battle here. Not really, because when we talk about fuel, the Prado can hold 150 litres of fuel. The Fortuner holds 80 litres of fuel. In curb weight, we must add all fluids to the vehicle. So the fuel is already allowed for in a Prado. The Prado being able to carry 72 kilos more fuel, because fuel is not as heavy as water, diesel, we are pretty much on par. We are on par. If we carry the same amount of fuel in the Fortuner with jerry cans, because we're in the Great Australian Outback, we need fuel. We now have 150 litres of fuel. This thing can just carry it. This thing needs jerry cans. We now have the same weight capacity left over on both these vehicles, load another 600 kilos into the vehicles before we need to look at a GVM upgrade. So I hope that helps you guys out. Let's talk about heritage and history of these two vehicles. So the Fortuna's only been around for a short time, since 2005 until present time now. So the backing and the trust and the name is not as strong as the Prado. See, the Prado, the name Prado has been around since 1985. The first generation of the Land Cruiser Prado was 1984 to 1995. This was not sold officially in Australia. People did buy them from overseas. So that first Prado was actually part of the 70 series. It was a 78 series Land Cruiser, the 70 series family. In 1990, the Land Cruiser 78 got removed from the 70 series family and started a thing on its own, the Land Cruiser Prado. It was mainly separated to compete against the highly successful Mitsubishi Pajero in the big size SUV long wheelbase wagons. This is why it's called a Land Cruiser Prado. But wait, there's more. The second series, or the second generation I should say, the 95 series Prado was first released officially in Australia as the first Prado in 1996. And that went all the way to 2003 when Generation 3 came out, which ended 2009. And then came the Prado 150. And now we are 2020, it's still the 150. When people think Toyota, they think Hilux, they think Land Cruiser, they think Prado. And then after that will be the Fortuna. As far as history goes, in my opinion, the Prado wins that battle. But does history matter to you guys? What do you guys think? It's now time for my main differences, noticeable differences on these two vehicles that matter to me in my opinion, and I reckon these will matter to you as well. So let's start with no other than the paddle shift. The paddle shift in the GXL and the Crusade, which is this style of vehicle here, has a paddle shift in it. Paddle shift on sand in off-road, until you have tried it, you have no idea what you're missing out on. To the point where I'm actually sourcing paddle shift for my Hilux. I want it in there. This is not available in the Prado unless you get the Kakadu version, which is a $96,000 car. Another battle that the Fortuna wins, and that is the rear diff locker, because the GX, the GXL and the Crusade all come with standard rear differential lock. Rear diff lockers, I reckon in my opinion, doubles the ability of your vehicle off-road. With a Prado, yes, you do get it in GXL, VX and a Kakadu version, but you do not get it in the GX version. So if you are looking at a Prado, be aware there is no rear differential locker in a GX. However, if you look at a Fortuna, every single one of them has the rear differential locker. The next standout difference is a Prado can hold 150 litres of diesel. The Fortuna, on the other hand, is only 80 litres of diesel. Which one looks better? Beauty is in the eye of the beholder, so only you guys can answer that. Which one do you actually like the looks of more? I think this one looks more modern, but I don't know. What do you guys think? One of these vehicles is more popular as a tourer and an off-roader, and that is the Prado. And because of that, there are far more accessories available for the Prado than there is the Fortuna. That said, however, this is catching up with stuff, but this has more stuff you can bolt onto it, you can fit onto it. So in terms of getting your vehicle touring ready with more stuff on it, the Prado will definitely win that battle. Another standout difference between these two vehicles is the fact that the Fortuna is a part-time full drive, the same as the Hilux. And the Prado is a full-time full drive. That meaning that when the Prado is in normal mode, it has all-wheel drive, which means that all wheels work to your advantage when you're driving on hard surfaces and loose traction surfaces. However, when you go off-road, you must put it into full drive. So in a Prado, you have to press the center diff lock button. Now, if you want to know how to get both of these vehicles into full drive, which is a slightly different procedure, it's covered in both independent reviews of both vehicles. It's now time to look at the pricing, and this matters a lot to a lot of people because this is your hard-earned dollars you're going to spend on a vehicle or get a loan for, right? Let's start with the GX version. The Fortuner, $55,000. PRADO, $67,000. The GXL, the Fortuner is $61,000. The PRADO comes in at $74,000. Crusade on the Fortuner is $68,000. The VX PRADO is $85,000. And then we have an extra option with the PRADO being the Kakadu at $96,000. So as you can see, there's a massive difference right here. There's $12,000 difference between the two GX versions, $13,000 difference on the GXL, and $17,000 difference when it comes to the VX and the Crusade. But here's a cool stat. The Crusade, the highest spec model you can get of the Fortuner, is almost the same price as the lowest spec PRADO you can get, the GX version. So with all the prices considered up there above, I reckon the Fortuner wins the battle of the value for money. The stuff you get in this vehicle is quite good when you compare the two prices. That said, the PRADO has come a long way from previous models. There are a lot more 200-ish Land Cruiser on the inside. Okay, I like how the door opens right up. This seat is all the way back. And even with this seat all the way back, I still have space for my legs. I'm 6'1", I'm wearing an outdoor Cobra hat. I can just touch if I do that. Heaps of room. Let's try this side. So much room, so much room. All right, let's jump over to the Fortuner. The door feels bigger. Okay, gotta watch your head as you get in this one. But once you get in, yeah, there's room, but my hat just touches. Just if I lean back. This seat's all the way back. I've also wound it back a bit. There's still room. So look, as far as space goes, I reckon it's on par, really. You can see I've got the kids seat in here as well. Heaps of room for that. I reckon on par. If I had to choose one of these two, which one would I choose, and give you a valid reason for it too? This is my choice, the Fortuner. It was a hard choice to make between these two. It was a tough choice, but I've gone for this. Now, not the Crusade version, it's the GXL version. And here are my reasons. One, the price. It's very affordable compared to the PRADO. You get paddle shift, you get a rear differential locker. I can pull the two back seats out and kit it out with a drawer system or whatever. It's got enough accessories available for it to actually build something out of this vehicle. I think this is a really affordable option when you put these two up against each other. This offers, I think, the same as what that offers, except for, you know, you got the comfort and you got all that stuff in here. So therefore, I'm picking the Fortuner over the PRADO, the GXL version. But if I had to pick a PRADO, it'll be a GXL PRADO as well. So what's your choice? Let me know what your choice is and give me at least one reason for your choice as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Do subscribe and hit that thumbs button. Cheers, bye.